Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence. How are you? A big mahalo for tuning in. I'm grateful to have you on board. Thank you so much for taking some time for this. Our good friend from Philadelphia is joining me again. He's been on a few times, including just over a year ago when he and his legendary soul band brought a great night of music to a sold-out Blaisdell Concert Hall. They're returning August 10th, an all-star Summer Soul Fest, as Uncle Tom is calling it. The Shirelles, the Manhattans, the Crystals, and my next guest and his group rounding out a very soulful night. They're fresh from a series of dates they've been doing, according to their website, an Asian tour in June, dates across the mainland in July. We get them before they do some dates in the United Kingdom, coming up in November and December. He's been playing here for going on 40 years, a very kind gentleman. Latest album is That Same Way. It's a treat to welcome back from the band that brought you Betcha by Golly Wow, Stop, Look, Listen, You Make Me Feel Brand New, and many others. From the Stylistics, our friend Airrion Love. Aloha and mahalo, my brother.
Dave, how are you?
I am very good, thank you so much. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling great, man. Feeling great.
It's good to connect with you. Thank you very much for being willing to return to the airwaves.
Hey, it's always my pleasure, man.
I do. You're a solid cat. They don't make them like you, so we got to treasure the good ones. So, what have been the? Do I have it right? U.S. tour has been taking place throughout July, and then before that, you were in Asia. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the?
We hadn't actually performed for the public in Singapore for like over 12 years. And this was like our first time back since. So that was a good trip. And then from there, we went right into Japan.
And when you were playing in, I saw a bunch of the dates in Japan. Where was the place in Singapore? Outdoor, indoor, sort of describe?
In fact, it was indoor. Trying to remember the name of it's the big casino there in Singapore. And they have like a 5,000-seat theater. The theater and the sound was awesome.
And the people just connecting with you for the first time. And would you say 10 years?
12.
12 years.
Yeah.
And then there was a whole bunch of dates in Japan. When it comes to those markets, is there a song or songs that are biggest there?
Yeah. I can't give you anything, but my love is real big in Japan. In fact, there's been a couple commercials using that song, so it's real popular. And in fact, in England and Japan, in England it was number one back in 70-something. And we can't leave the stage without doing it. But as soon as they hear the trumpet solo, everybody goes off.
And when you hear them perk up with anticipation, does that sort of just get your blood boiling a little extra hot? Yeah,
it does. And in fact, I guess the audience don't realize how much control they have over an artist, but they do. They have so much control. When we hear them identifying to any one of our songs, it takes us there.
I bet.
Somebody asked me today, well, do you ever get tired of singing the same old song every time? And I said, each time we sing it, it's different according to that particular audience that we're performing it for.
When you think of Singapore, is it different there than Japan, or is it the same sort of thing in terms of what tunes were big in the past?
Well, amazingly, the same songs that were big in Japan were big in Singapore.
Makes sense.
And Manila. Yeah.
Makes sense. And did you hit the Philippines on this tour or no?
We went to the Philippines. Wow, I got so many frequent flyer miles these last few months that I'm kind of like confused exactly when we went on what particular airlines. But we went to Manila first, and we did Manila and Cebu, and then we came home for a few weeks, did the States, and then we went to Manila. Then we went to Singapore, and then from Singapore to Japan, and we came back home.
And when you do these Asian shows, do you do interviews over there, and how are they conducted? Well,
naturally in the English-speaking countries, we do a lot of interviews. In fact, we had press conferences when we were in Manila. That it was like a ballroom in a hotel, and this was a long desk that we sat at in front of everybody, and then they just shot questions to us. Japan, we may go to a couple radio stations and do an interview that way through an interpreter in Japan. But each place is a little different.
Wow, that's interesting. So you're in Japan, like on this last swing through. Did you do any stations on this last visit?
No, we didn't.
But when you do them, it is they're speaking in Japanese, and then the interpreter, they bring in an interpreter?
Yes, they do.
And then they provide one. Wow, so they're in there, they're doing like a Japanese language show, like music language show, or more like a talk show? Music show. And then and then when it comes to having the guest, they have an interpreter there, and then they'll ask us.
And they ask us a question, and the interpreter what's the word?
Translates it.
Translates, I can say translates it to English, and then when we answer, they translate it back to Japanese. So it makes for a long question and answer period.
Yeah, I can imagine. And you were sort of mentioning it, but there's a great story, I think, attached to you were talking about the popularity of a particular jam over there and it being used in advertising. You were guests, according to your Wikipedia page, on a Japanese TV show a few years ago with one of your tunes that was being used to promote a hair product, Moving Rubber.
Yeah.
And you did it on a pop group's TV show. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the group was named SMAP, and it's 5 members, very popular guys in Japan. I mean, I could be on a subway and see one of their faces in some type of ad or something in the subway on TV. So they're very, very popular, and we were invited to sing "I Can't Give You Anything," and they performed it with us.
Oh, wow.
And it was floating around YouTube for a while. I think we may have a copy of it on our website. But it became, the hair product SMAP does. So naturally, when we sung that song with them, it just sent everything through the roof with, that song again. It just made it just as popular as it was in the 70s. And
the band is SMAP, and what kind of hair product is it exactly?
I'm thinking like a mousse.
A mousse, okay.
Because in the commercial, the guy is twirling around his finger, twirling his hair around his finger. So it wasn't soapy. So I don't think it was shampoo. I think it might have been like a mousse or gel or something.
Yeah, I was just trying to see what the connection to the band was with the...
Yeah. But I'm quite sure it can be Googled.
Right, yeah, no doubt. When you first got to go to Asia, what part of the Stylistics legacy, if you will, was that? What era was it when you first went over there to play?
Wow. Oh, my goodness. I think Japan was, and I'm thinking I'm going through my cobwebs and everything to try to think back. I think Japan was the first country that we visited in Asia.
And it was what, 70? It went in the 70s,
I'm thinking it's maybe 73, 74.
Okay.
And it was funny because when we were touring Japan, naturally we carried our band, but it was supplemented by a horn and string section. So we had like a full orchestra.
Oh, in the earliest era of hitting over there?
Yeah.
And you brought those cats with you, or they were local in Japan?
The horn section and violin section was local.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, in fact, this last trip that we did, a violinist came to the show, and through an interpreter, she was telling us that she played violins on a lot of our shows back in the 70s.
Wow, and that is and I was not privileged to see you myself. I was just a little kid when you were touring.
I can say you probably weren't born. That's probably what it was. You probably couldn't see too much of anything.
But did you? Were you hitting the States with the same sort of instrumentation, or was that something that the Asian fans in Japan were getting as a specialty? You playing with the orchestra?
Well, we tried. There was a few dates that we did with full orchestration in the States, but I don't know why it was more overseas, because even our first major tour of England, it was the same thing. We had a bus for the Stylistics and then another bus for the orchestra. So we were traveling with a lot of folks that were going from city to city with us at the time. And why it wasn't so much in the States, I don't know.
That's interesting that it would have been done.
Now, we tried. I mean, it was also up to the promoter to provide them also. So we tried to, augment it as much as possible. But all my memories of using a full or having a full orchestra was always England and Japan. Now, I do remember the first time we did Carnegie Hall, and we had a full orchestra at Carnegie Hall.
Damn. Now, that was just because it was such a monumental gig, or?
Yeah, and we wanted to come right.
Right. You wanted to bring it hardcore on that one. And that was what, early 70s?
Yep.
How much prep time did getting those cats into how much rehearsals were involved with preparing an orchestra?
Well, you know what? Most orchestras or individual are, pretty good when it comes to reading music. So we had all of our stuff orchestrated, and we had a conductor that went to it at sound check and rehearsal. So sound check might have been an hour and a half long, but he just ran through it. And, when you are an accomplished musician and you got the music in front of you, one thing you do is play what you see.
Right, you can just nail it. There doesn't have to be a lot of prep, is what you're saying.
And our basic rhythm section, guitar player, bass player, drums, and keyboards, they knew this stuff because they were our band. So having the other musicians, the horn section and the string section, it made it easier because you did have some musicians that knew exactly what you were doing. Right,
where they had the familiarity that they could bring to it by knowing the jams. Hey, you know what you ought to mention to Uncle Tom is next time, if you've never, because I don't think you've ever done it here, because a lot of bands have played Honolulu Symphony Pops.
Well, we're gonna put that over the air, see what Uncle Tom will come through with that. Well, this time, I'm not gonna talk bad. I'm not gonna talk bad about Tom, because Tom's been in our corner from day one. But this trip, it was decided upon kind of like last minute, and Tom put to us that he wanted us to come over and just use the Hawaiian musicians that are playing for everybody else.
Ah.
So we said, well, the only way we would do it if our drummer and our guitarist, who's our MD, would come also.
Ah.
So I love Tom, but everybody's in this to make money. He can't bring us there with the expense of plane tickets and hotels and not look to make some type of profit. So he tried to keep his expenses, down as much as possible. But this is the first time we come in there without our full own band.
Wow, ever in your whole history of Hawaii dates?
No.
Oh, you've done this? Okay, so in recent times, you've never come without your band, but a long time ago, you've done that.
We've never come without a band.
Okay.
Hawaii.
So this is the first time ever that the Stylistics have ever come to Hawaii and not had their regular band backing them.
Exactly.
Wow, that's something. Well, that, again, my idea for the future, now you put that on the shelf, you think, wow, that's pretty economical what he's saying. Is it, you come and use the Hawaii Symphony someday in the future, Uncle Tom will like that one. That'll work. That works with the cash register.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And we almost did a show here in Philly with the Philly Pops. And we went to rehearsal at the Sound of Music, and oh my God, listening to them play the stuff, it was like they were sitting on top of the record. That's just how precise everything was. And the day that we were scheduled to go on, that week, it was a city strike. So the day that we were scheduled to go on, the orchestra said they didn't want to cross the picket line, so the show was canceled. I mean, they still paid us, but we never got a chance to hear it with the Philly Pop full orchestra. So we would love to hear it like with a symphonic orchestra or something. That would just be off the chain.
And it would be the right fit, too, musically. Because of the kind of style of music. I mean, and you can you can do it with a lot of different bands. I mean, Metallica did it with an orchestra, and it ended up sounding brilliant, too. So really, genre sometimes can lend itself to it, and other times it'll be just as cool without it. But I would think with your sound, it would just naturally, with the strings and all the different things you've already used.
Right. Yeah. We would love to do that. That's a good idea, Dave. Well,
thank you, my brother. I'm always looking out for you. Throw a little high five.
I'm gonna mention that. I'm gonna put that in Tom's ear when I see him.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea on that note. And
you know what? Dave don't only crash our parties. He comes up with great ideas.
I try, my brother. And speaking of party, this thing is what an unusual kind of party this is going to be, huh? When you think of the eras of the people who are going to be on this bill, it's got the Crystals, the Shirelles, the Manhattans, and yourselves. It is not all folks from the exact same sort of era or genre. Speak a little bit to that.
No.
Talk a little bit about these people.
When I hear about the Crystals, man, that goes to my boyhood. So we may be moving a little faster than everybody else on the stage. All joking aside, but so that should be interesting.
Did you ever see them when you were a kid?
No.
Any of these artists?
When I was old enough to start going to live shows, the Motown Review was out and about.
So who?
And just funny on Unsung, I just saw the Marvelettes, and they had different captions of the Motown Review, and I was saying, wow, I remember them singing that song the same way, ad-libbing. Locking Up My Heart. And I remember that. I got a quick flashback. And I might have been 13 or 14 at the time. So, wow. Yeah.
And you're going to have that again. They're going to be playing the Do Run Run and Then He Kissed Me. Yep.
And now I can sing along with all the songs.
Yeah, well, maybe you can. Maybe we get a little multi-generational jam out of the whole night. Any of them that are particular favorites or that you're most looking forward to when you heard you were going to be on the same bill?
Well, you know what? Like anything, I think once I heard a particular song, I would get that flashback. But Then He Kissed Me. I remember that one. Definitely remember that. But no, it should be interesting. It should be real interesting.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple of them, Beverly Lee and Dee Dee Kenny Brew, some of these. I mean, these are original performers from these bands, and what stories they got. It's going to be a lot of fun. They were looking forward to doing something like this. If you think of the most unusual band that you've ever been put up against when you guys have looked at each other and thought, man, this doesn't fit. Anything come to mind?
Wow, man. You always come up with some... good questions. I mean, stuff that you have to think about for like a day or two and just like sift through the stuff. Wow. But off the... wow. Well, yeah. And it just came to me. We opened for Red Fox.
Oh. Wow.
And when we came off and he came on and doing the show the way that he did it, a lot of people left. And then when they left, he said, okay, now I got rid of the so-and-so, so now I can really do my show. And that was different.
Wow, he was the man. I'm a big Sanford and Son fan.
Yeah, that was different.
He had a tough mouth, huh?
Yeah.
I have a couple of his CDs, I think, or bootlegs of him doing that bit. That's funny you mention him right after we lose George Jefferson Sherman Helmsley.
Right.
You ever meet him?
No, never met him.
I met him one time. Nice guy.
Okay.
He was doing stand-up for a while after that. I remember he came by the station. But Red Fox, that is an interesting one to have gotten. Was he a nice guy, Airrion?
Never got a chance to talk to him
Okay.
on a one-on-one. And then the only big comedian after that, and I think it was like a festival or it was an outside gig, was Bill Cosby.
On the same stage with you guys? On
the same stage. We opened with him. And I remember coming for sound check, and he was like standing between the trailers, and he said, yeah, I was waiting for you guys to come here, because if you didn't, I was going home. But that was the only conversation we had with him. But, Philly guy, too.
I was about to say, cheesesteak loving brother. No question.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to look forward to the show, and I leave you with this. This is the first time that you guys have come through and you haven't been slammed with like 4 dates in a row. And usually, last time you were here, it was sold out. It was at the Blaisdell Concert Hall. This time, it's going to be not part of a 4-island run. You're going to be at the arena, so it's a much bigger show, and all these other bands are on the bill. And I put this in your mind. I'm going to send you an email with some nice pictures of it, but we have this beautiful studio. It's called the HPR Atherton Performing Arts Studio. Even if it's just you, whether it's you, the band, performance, or an interview, I would love to invite you to come over and join us at the studio here.
Okay. Again, I'm not sure exactly what time we arrive. If it's that night, naturally we couldn't do anything.
Totally, I understand.
That evening, and that following day, I don't want to put anything out there yet, because by us not having our own band, it may be like an extensive rehearsal with the musicians. Not saying that Hawaiian musicians aren't excellent musicians, but it's just a way of just doing our stuff that has to be the way that we do it,
Got to work it out.
Yeah. So I don't know, Dave. I don't know how long that's going to take, but if I'll put this out there too. If you want to come to sound check and mix it with us and do an interview with all of us, we can do that too.
Yeah, that's another way. Yeah, that's what I mean. You're as the generous cat that you are. I just wanted to seed it in your head, and as we get closer, you and I will communicate. And if there's no way to make it happen at the studio, maybe we can come down there and we'll do something there, which would be wonderful.
Okay. Yeah, but I'll put it this way. Well, either way, for sure, we're going to do something.
No, and I knew that. I knew it for sure, my brother. You're my boy, and I love you dearly. I'm giving you a big hug and a high five. Always.
Same here, man, and thank you.
No, I know, and we always have a warm and fuzzy time, and I can't wait to see you again. That's all I can tell you. And we're going to get cheesesteaks. I don't care. I got to bring you to that place, because I don't think they're having that soul place by. I don't think they're that band. No. Remember they had that soul food thing last time you were here?
Yeah.
They had this. I
didn't get any of it, but
well, we'll do cheesesteaks. I hope you had fun talking. I really do, man. I
always do, Dave.
I hope you feel the hug, because I'm giving you a major one as we speak.
Yeah, for sure.
You're the man, Airrion.
All right, bro. Cool. And I got all your information, I think, on myself. So I'll text you definitely as soon as I get the flight information too. Man, you travel safe, Airrion. We'll talk soon, and you're my brother. Thank you so much for all the fun. Anytime. You know that, man. I do. Much love. I do know that. Aloha. Aloha, brother.